So what we had to do during that period was reach out and really understanding what was important to our employees that kept them bonded together in a culture, and make sure that we could find the common ground. And as part of that, we defined our employee value proposition, which I'm sure many of people on this call have looked at previously. And in looking at that, the three themes that came through from us, from all our employees, was that they wanted to be connected, they wanted to be developed, and they wanted to be inspired. And that was across the board. So our role as part of my people team and many of the other leadership team members was to work out, well, what does connect mean, what does develop mean, and what does inspire mean to the various different cohorts. So we've made a significant investment in our connection. Is all about our engagement surveys and actually continually leading and tracking our culture scores and the initiatives that we're putting out. Our development one is interesting because obviously it's a key theme for here today, and COVID turned this on its head. The majority of our development programs in the past would have focused on the what and the how, as opposed to the why. And we've really, it's the golden circle, and it's nothing new, but from our perspective, it's new to our organization, because we actually did try and focus in a lot on the why. What are you here to do, and how do we help you do that? And we did find that even when we were suffering with concerns around mental health and well-being, and the construction industry is a very challenging industry when it comes to health and well-being. And even in looking at that and our own program of Wellbeing Matters, you know, unless we can actually guide people through that why they're actually you know, coming to work every day and what they're looking to personally achieve, you know, you're really not able to deliver the learning and development at the next level.
Just quoting a few, as you mentioned, the two-way communication. I suppose it's unusual in the time that where we're all kind of restricted from being with each other. The two-way communication was the most important thing at the time. I suppose I think there as well, you know, when we're planning and all these things, I think it was Mike Tyson said, everybody has a plan until you get a punch in the face, you know. And I think somebody mentioned their business continuity plan. I remember in our own business, we had one of those on the shelf for years, and you thought you'd never need it until COVID arrived. And then all of a sudden your plan became a reality, and then you had to bring it all to fruition. So, you know, the last 18 months has really helped us kind of sit down and kind of consider what if things that we need to consider.
We're returning to older types of conversations that we might have been having post-pandemic that weren't necessarily high on the agenda, you know, through the pandemic. So while I see the needs as, you know, as kind of being differentiated, one of the big things though is, and I don't think that we can water down that difference between family and work. And I think, Roisin, you mentioned it, people do need to know how to negotiate both, and create clear boundaries, you know, and like we're hearing now, a work blend as opposed to a work-life blend as opposed to a work-life balance, you know, and people are kind of wondering, how will you as an organization help me to achieve that?
When the Taoiseach announced that we were all going to work remotely, that some people were working in isolation. And so very quickly we decided to set up what we called our wellness committee. And that was a group of 4 people got together and looked at, they're just minor tweaks, having a virtual coffee morning. And the only rule was that you could not talk about work. So people got to just have a casual conversation that they might have in the office about, it could be about, well, it couldn't be about games because there were no games going on, but it could have been the events of the day. It could be anything, but it did help to connect people. I think Arlene mentioned that connection was an issue, and we found that was important for people to have that, and they really valued their Thursday morning virtual coffee morning.
So with financial, obviously, you know, we all go to work to get a pay packet at the end of the month. You know, it's not, some people say it's not about the money that makes us do a job. And for some people, that's a really true fact that, you know, it's not the money for the job and so on that their ways. However, you know, essentially we all go to work. We either get paid weekly, bi-weekly, or, you know, at the end of the month with our pay. So making sure that we can balance their needs is obviously very, very important. My previous employer, I can actually talk about them because they did this very well. Without saying any names, it's a major Swedish furniture retailer that's the worldwide one, if you can take up the gist in that one. And they did this very well because obviously I transitioned from from that retailer into Bluewave. So I did, and it was a very much face-to-face environment. But they focused very much so onto the wellness and financial wellness. While we were there, they actually changed the EIP program and provider during the time. And one of the things they actually put up for their staff was a COVID support fund for anybody who had a hardship fund through COVID.